Welcome to Kits and Wagers, where the bets are made up and the records do not matter. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen. We're here talking Wednesday night for Game Week 7 in the Premier League. Chris, rainy days over there on the West Coast. We can hear a little bit on the sound, but it's not too loud. I can hear you. I think everyone can hear you pretty clearly. So we're good here. We got to start off though with this new Seattle Sounders logo. We talked a little bit about it. You have some thoughts. You said you have 10 minutes worth of thoughts here. Let's hear them.
Yeah, huge rebrand that came out for the Seattle Sounders. I am, of course, I guess they've adopted me as a fan since I've lived out here, coming up on close to 4 years here, and good team, good club, usually a pretty good product on the field too. So been to a lot of games, and they decided for whatever reason, like a lot of MLS teams have been doing over the past couple of years, they needed a rebrand. What we've seen from a lot of MLS teams is maybe they've missed the point on a couple. I think I can think of a few clubs who maybe had some feedback that wasn't the best following their rebrand. Chicago Fire, but the Sounders, of course, they kind of have this like loud. It's rave green is their base, kind of that like highlighter green. They have a blue, and it's a very loud kit, I guess, in general, a loud color scheme. But they did this, and they had an NASL team, I guess, back in 1974, which they started. So they kind of went back to the roots on this. My first interpretation of the rebrand is that it went well. They did. I think the biggest thing for me is they somehow incorporated an orca, the whale, the killer whale, into some sort of into Adam's bringing it up here if you're watching on YouTube here, but they brought the main logo looks great too. They kept the needle, which is iconic landmark for the city, but they did also bring in this is a separate piece of. They brought in like an orca little thing that I saw it on a couple of their new apparel. It was on a shirt. It was on a hat that I'll probably be purchasing. But all in all, it's just like a cleaner, less mid 2000s brand, which their previous one looked like. So I'm a pretty big fan of it. Adam's scrolling through here. They also kept they went from, instead of they were SSFC before, and they kind of rebranded back to SF. There we go. There's the orca.
I did have questions about this one.
That thing's sick. It looks so cool. I need it. But if you can get an orca on anything, I think you have to. They also have the carnation, which is kind of interesting too. But yeah, that green hat with the orca, I'll be buying that thing.
It just looks like you're going to an aquarium or something.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, I went to the Seattle Aquarium. Check it out.
Yeah, it's not like a ferocious orca by any means. I mean, although orcas don't look extremely ferocious, they can be very ferocious. Yeah. So that's pretty sick. And then like they went from they were SSFC before, and now they've just like condensed it to SFC, which is way better than SSFC. Like, who are we kidding? So
I do like this clean, the main logo. This one's pretty nice. I would say that.
Yeah, totally. Like, I love that just the white, though, the strictly white. That looks good too. So yeah, and going back to like their NASL days of the 1974, you love to see that, especially considering I think they started back in the Seattle Sounders started back in like 2000-ish, early 2000. So pretty cool, and I'll probably buy a little bit of gear here, but in the scheme of MLS teams rebranding, I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I worked at Sporting Kansas City when they rebranded. This was 12 years ago, 2011, and it kind of reminds me of that. It's just like a slick, pretty nice, not like that simple, but pretty simple for the most part. I like it a lot. I like the colors as well. I mean, you mentioned the greenness of it all, but the SFC maybe slightly confusing when I first saw that, and I was like, "Oh, Sevilla, what's going on here?" But no, I guess it's just Seattle. So
it's a firm 9 time zones away in Sevilla.
But yeah, I'd say a success there for their logo. But we're talking the Premier League. We're back in Premier League. We always have MLS Corner here that we start the show out with sometimes. But MLS has, about 8 weeks to the postseason playoffs a little bit. But we got Premier League ahead. We got Game Week 7. Me and Chris, I think, I don't know, we're combined 30-0, I want to say, on our bets. We're going to have the record records up shortly here, but we've been killing it. I think overall, it's been a great start to the season for us, and we can only. The hope is that we can only continue that success, is what I'll say. But check it out on the site. I got predicted lineups out. We got FPL rankings. We got Fantrax rankings. We got waiver wire pickups at Fantrax. Bunch of good stuff there. But we're going to be going into cheat sheets. And actually, no, we're not. We're talking about betting. What am I talking about? We're getting
You're
into
talking about cheat sheets.
yeah, but if you want to access those cheat sheets, rotowire.com/soccerchild. That's a 48-hour trial to get pretty much everything available at RotoWire, including everything available through soccer. But I'm on the betting page here. As you can see, it compares odds for 4 different sports books. And we got 3 games up. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter here, please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Thank you to everyone. We hit 1,000 subscribers over the weekend, but we got the games up here. This first game we're talking about, this team, Sheffield United, they just lost 8-0. But we have actually not had a bet on Sheffield United this season. So what better time is now after an 8-goal loss here. Now they're at West Ham for this one. So we got West Ham are at home. They're minus 215 to win. Sheffield United plus 550, and the draw is plus 380. And then we're going to go not a ton of goals here. But still, I mean, over 2.5 goals is minus 155. Under 2.5 goals is plus 125. I think some of that is built in from basically what just happened with Sheffield United, and they kind of, were smacked around a little bit. But I think this is going to be I guess we have questions here. I'll bring that up. We haven't heard anything about Sheffield United's manager, Paul Heckingbottom. It was rumored pretty much last week that it was like, okay, Chris Wilder, prior manager who was managing them when they were brought up, 4 years ago now, that he was going to be coming in, taking over for Heckingbottom. That has not happened yet, at least from what I can see. It has not happened yet, and Heckingbottom is still there despite losing that 8-goal game. It could happen Thursday, it could happen Friday, but at this point, why would you wait until the end of the week to do it when you could have done it Monday? So we're just going in with the assumption that same manager here, same players here. So what do you think about this one, Chris?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think, West Ham coming off a loss at the weekend. And then I guess I didn't see what they did in the League Cup. I think they won.
I think it was just 1-0 today.
Just as a caveat, this was a League Cup week. So I think most of these teams, I think Sheffield United had lost. They actually lost to Lincoln City in the second round of League Cup, so they didn't play midweek well. West Ham, I forget who they played.
They won 1-0 at Lincoln.
Okay.
Lincoln City.
So,
I think they're the Imps or something like that.
So, yeah, Sheffield United maybe having the potential to have an extra few days off here, whereas West Ham, coming off a League Cup win. I do think that they played a little bit of a lesser lineup in that match, so that, take that into consideration, at least for the weekend. But, West Ham, sitting on 10 points, they've looked pretty good. Obviously, a tough matchup last weekend. Meanwhile, Sheffield United, I'm surprised. I think it would have been a bit of a overreaction to sack Heckingbottom, but I mean, 8-0 is 8-0, especially in the Premier League era. I don't know. I think I saw 9-0 might have been the biggest ever win in the Premier League, so that's kind of wild. I tuned in at like 3-0, and it was like 15 minutes in. I think I kind of tuned out when it was 5-0, and then it ended up being 8-0 when I look back, and I was, each time I was like, geez. Anyone trying to play defense on that back line?
I saw on Twitter the Family Guy gif of Peter like walking up. He was at a stadium walking up, then he turned around, and then he walks up, and then the fans go, and then he turns around, and then the fans go, and it just happened 8 times for every goal. It was pretty perfect.
That's shout out to the internet sleuths out there doing their best work. But in terms of this game, West Ham, you think David Moyes like just like a really tight back line, but they've actually been conceding a few fair bit of goals. They've conceded 6 in their last 2 games. Mind you, both of those opponents were Man City and Liverpool. But even prior to that, they conceded to Luton Town, to Brighton, did concede once to West Ham in that win. But they've been giving up goals. Meanwhile, as we said, Sheffield United have been giving up a couple as well. 8 in their last game, 2 to Tottenham, 2 to Everton, 2 to Man City, 2 to Nottingham Forest. So if you're for that reason, I didn't really go for the overs. I thought the overs were just like I couldn't find the exact value. I think it was you had to go to 3.5 to get some good value on that. But yeah, what was it? It was over 2.5 is minus 155. So considering that you got to go to 3.5 to get plus 160. I don't love that myself. Thinking through that kind of like that same thought process, I was like, all right, let's just go both teams to score. I think it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Of course, I think they'll both be able to score, but it's minus 130, so a little bit on the cusp of what we normally do. But could use a win here. So I'm on both teams to score minus 130. Both teams have been giving up a ton of goals. Not a whole lot of clean sheets aside from Sheffield United being shut out against Newcastle last weekend. Are you on that too, or are you kind of thinking that this might be a change of pace for both teams?
Yeah, I think it's more of a change of pace for both teams. Because I went through West Ham's schedule, and you see the recent games here. Of course, they have Europa League. I'm not even sure this team they played in Europa League. I think we mentioned it last week, but they played some team called Baka Topola, which they dominated. But besides that, so they had the Liverpool match, they had Manchester City, Luton Town, they had that win at Brighton, they had the game against Chelsea, Bournemouth was the opener. So a lot of different matchups. They haven't really played a team that's just like, okay, granted, this Sheffield United team, I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter how they play. But at the end of the day, I think the way I looked at it, so you got yes on both teams to score here. But I would say that in terms of, so West Ham, they usually like to play like this David Moyes. They're not like a team that's just going to dominate possession. And as Chris sees my bet here for the first time, I got a plus 425 bet. I've done this before. Maybe it hasn't worked. Maybe it has. I took Luton Town corners against West Ham a couple weeks ago. That one hit, but just on the basis of West Ham don't play with that much possession. And then I think there's just a ton of value here. I tried finding an edge between race to 3 corners and race to 5 corners. Race to 3 corners is about plus 230, plus 250 or something like that. So I just went big here, and just under the assumption that, okay, West Ham aren't a team that's going to dominate possession. They're not going to be like, okay, we're going to be on the front foot and rack up 5 corners right away. Though, again, that could happen because Sheffield United may have lost their, I don't know, they may want Hecky bottom out kind of a thing. They may not. They may put another dud up. But I watched that Newcastle Sheffield United match, and they were kind of, it was pretty even after 20, 30 minutes. And then that first goal happened where I think Anthony Gordon, it actually hit his hand, and VAR looked at it, and for some reason they didn't call the handball, and they gave Newcastle the goal anyway. And I think the Sheffield United players saw that, and when they were just like, we're done here. And unfortunately, they're professional players that they had that attitude. But I think there's still some kind of bounce back here is kind of what I'm getting at. If we just throw out that 8-0 loss, I think just the odds here at plus 425 against Fulham or against West Ham, who are traditionally a team that's not going to rack up a ton of corners, I think it's pretty good odds here. So Sheffield United race to 5 corners plus 425. You didn't like, I think I had a couple weeks of plus 400 a bet, but what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I am weary. Just looking at the total team stats here for the season, we've got corners 1 here for Sheffield United, 21 corners in 6 matches total. But little having reservations about this one overall, just because they're not even averaging 5 corners a game at this point. Looking at that, and then you take into, not that West Ham has done much better. They've taken 25 corners, so just 4 more. So it's a similar level. But why not go to Sheffield United race to 3 corners rather than the 5? Any thoughts of that? It's plus 2. You're about half as.
I want the extra money. I want the extra money, and I also want, if it's like, okay, West Ham, they get this goal in the first half, and maybe they get the first few corners. Then we have Sheffield United kind of pressuring, kind of pushing for, the equalizer kind of thing. Because I don't think West Ham are just going to be like, hey, we're going to, pass the ball around. We're going to be Manchester City and dominate possession, because that's not who they are. So I think even if West Ham don't get the goal, but if they do, I think that race to 5 is more likely for Sheffield United.
That's interesting. I have reservations, like I said, about this. I would rather just go to the race to 3 corners for this bet if I was going to do like a similar bet, but I'm not a corners guy. But so officially, from an editorial perspective, I would do 3 corners, but 5 is bigger money.
For what you brought up, Sheffield United, I mean, I think some of that just has to go into schedule because they've also had a pretty difficult schedule. I mean, you just look at, okay, they had the Newcastle match, but they also had Tottenham. They also had Manchester City. So it's like, how many corners are you expecting from them in those games? Even then, I mean, so
same could be said for West Ham though. Liverpool, Man City, Brighton, Chelsea.
Yeah, West Ham gave up 9 corners to Luton Town, and they gave up 10 corners to Bournemouth. So that's kind of where my line of thinking is here.
We need that on the that's a quick pickup for the tech team on rotowire.com. Corners conceded. I don't think that's a toggle. Like, you can't toggle that on the team stats.
Yeah, send support at rotowire.com, I believe is the.
Yeah, that would be good to know. That's like in the same way that we look at Arsenal having 58 corners in 6 matches. It'd be good to know how many. Have they conceded 10? Have they conceded 5? But
no, actually, sorry. Corners conceded are on our cheat sheets. I should say that they are on our cheat sheets. So we'll click on that at the end of the show, and we'll show everyone where you can find that. But all right, so Chris, you're yes on both teams to score. That's minus 130, and then I got Sheffield United race to 5 corners plus 425. All right, Chris. So this game is also Saturday. It can be considered, the biggest one of the weekend, which it is. So we talked about Tottenham last week. I don't believe either one of us hit those bets. I think you had some kind of bet with under 3.5. I took both teams to score, no draw. And of course it was 2-2. So that did not hit, but we have Tottenham, our home, against Liverpool. Tottenham, who did not have a match midweek. They are another... They were knocked out early in Carabao Cup, so they do not have UEFA play, and they do not have Carabao Cup play. Liverpool, they did another, let a goal to Leicester City in, I don't know, 3rd minute or something like that, and then they came back 1-3-1, which is basically how they play these days. We kind of mentioned it last week, but we got Tottenham plus 195. I found that a little surprising here that Tottenham are decent size underdog here at home. They're plus 195 to win. Liverpool are plus 120 to win. The draw is plus 310. And then you got to go up to over 3.5 goals is plus 100. Under 3.5 goals is minus 120. So thinking goals here, which isn't too surprising given Liverpool's penchant to allowing goals in the first 20 minutes. And then given what Tottenham just did against Arsenal as well. So this is your squad. Are you the first thing you said to me was, Liverpool money line plus 120, but that is not the bet you're taking. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, not the bet I'm taking, but it certainly was the first one that popped out to me. I mean, that's probably because that's what the first bet that shows on DraftKings when you pull up the game. But there's a couple I thought about. First of all, I did miss out on that. I think I had Arsenal double chance in under 3.5. last weekend against Tottenham. So I just missed out on that one narrowly. But this has kind of come up on me shortly here. I was very pessimistic to begin the season about Liverpool's chances. And at this point they've kind of blown what I thought away. They I think won 5, drawn 1, sitting in second place. Going back, I think they've won 7. They're unbeaten in their last 17 games in the Premier League, going back to last season. So they're playing, really well. They did just finish up a 3-1 win over Leicester City earlier today. From a lineup standpoint, Salah was completely rested, so that helps. No Van Dijk. I think the biggest question mark for Liverpool will be Trent Alexander-Arnold. Does he come back into the side, or do they keep Joe Gomez out there? Robertson was completely rested as well. I think they brought on a couple subs, but like Gakpo, Jota, and then Ben Doak started up front. So they should have a couple of different options, mostly fit. But yeah, Tottenham, I mean, aside from they battled back, they were great. I thought they were, really great last weekend, and kind of they were just like one bad Christian Romero away from getting a better result. But I think they'll take I think they'll take a point away at Arsenal anyways. But yeah, hosting Liverpool here, we know these matches in the past 2 seasons maybe 5-6 seasons have become kind of wild. Of course, there was the 4-3 win for Liverpool at home. Liverpool did beat them at Tottenham last season 2-1. So I can't. I'd have to go back a bit to the last time Tottenham won against, I think 2017. They won in the Premier League 4-1. So otherwise, it's been pretty much Liverpool dominating. I'm actually going to go completely off the I'm not a money line bet, not an over/under bet, but I am going to go to the main man who's done it all many times, and that's Mohamed Salah. He's plus 140 anytime goal scoring odds here. Although I mentioned all the reasons why maybe a money line bet for Liverpool might be interesting, I think you just got to look at what he's done against his body work against Tottenham. He scored 3 against them last season. He scored, I think, 9 in 12 games overall. If you count the Champions League final against them, he kind of just fills the back of the net when he plays them. So I think this one's pretty safe. But
safe.
I love a Salah plus 140. He's completely rested. 7 days. He knows what to do against Tottenham. So
he knows what to do.
I mean, it's. I don't have a. I think they can come away with 3 points here, but
are you worried about the Salah Udogie matchup?
Udogie looked pretty good. I mean, he picked up an early yellow card against Saka last week.
Yeah.
I was real worried. I was like, man, this could get ugly quick and potentially like red card territory if he's not careful. But after he got the yellow card, he played really well, I thought, down throughout that entire match. So I was impressed with him. I'm not worried about that. I mean, Salah and Saka are both incredible players. So I think, if he does it again, good for him. But I think back-to-back weeks, those are probably 2 of the toughest matchups you're going to get from like a man marking perspective.
Yeah, I think Tottenham, kind of showed a lot in that last game. I mean, we both kind of thought we were leaning on Arsenal. We gave out the stat, Tottenham have I don't know, probably never have won at Arsenal. Maybe it's been 20 something years.
2 wins in 30 years.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, just the fact that, you look at the numbers, they had more possession than Arsenal at the end of the day, and Arsenal got a couple goals. Then they bounced back in both situations. So, I mean, that in itself, I think is really impressive given just what we've seen from prior versions of Tottenham. And that's kind of what I'm leaning here, because what I initially said was I kind of think the odds are somewhat surprising. I thought it'd be, a little closer to even, about, plus 160 for both of them to win. But the fact that Tottenham are underdogs at home, maybe they could use that as, some motivation factor. But I got a nice little single game parlay here. Spurs double chance with over 2.5 goals, and that's plus 145. So pretty much what you're kind of line of thinking here. There's probably going to be goals. It seems like there's going to be goals. What we mentioned, Udogie, but Romero has had some issues against Arsenal, and I don't think Tottenham's defense is completely there yet, whereas Liverpool can, score against anyone. So that's on the table there, but Liverpool can also allow goals to anyone. So, totally. You look at recent matches for Liverpool, it's 3-1 in 4 straight games. So as long as, Tottenham don't lose this, I like this one here. So Tottenham double chance over 2.5 goals is plus 145. And then Chris has Salah to score at plus 140. So both these can hit pretty, I don't want to say easily, but it makes sense that both of them could hit in the same game here. But you're not going to be happy though if it's a draw.
I need 90 minutes to watch a game to know if I'm going to be happy with this. If it's a draw, if they're down 3-0 and they come back and tie 3-3, I might be okay with that. But if they're up 3-1 and they concede too late, probably going to be pissed. But any thought to money line up to 30th minute Tottenham bet here plus 295? It's been 4 straight games where Liverpool have given up an early goal and then come back. That could be a fun little. For me. That's just a fun little bet. That
plus 295.
Yeah, it's Tottenham and up until the 30th minute, plus 295. Could be interesting.
Where's that listed at?
It's on DraftKings. It's under game props, I believe.
Oh, game props.
Yeah,
okay.
game props, and then you got to scroll about midway down the page, and you can get it at. They have up to 70th minute too. I don't really like that one, but I think could be an interesting, like a smaller wager bet, and just see what happens.
It's actually really enticing.
Yeah.
Plus 295.
Yeah.
If I remember, I'm going to have to look at that come Saturday before this game. That is very enticing. You think that at some point is Liverpool going to come out and play well in the first 20 minutes, or is it just going to be okay? We don't care. I don't know. They had a couple. I don't know. I was going to say had a couple beers, but they do.
Jurgen's popping the pollinators for them in the locker room.
They didn't do like the right kind of prep, or they haven't been doing the right kind of prep for the first 20 minutes for some reason. It takes the other team scoring for them to wake up and realize what's going on. I don't know what it is, but
I'm just so accustomed to it now. It's like part of it's a ritual at this point. Let's concede one early, boys. See if we can't crank it up in the 60 minutes on.
Yeah, I
Give them
doubt
something to play
TAA is
for.
going to start, but it's going
Yeah.
to be arrested Joe Gomez, and I don't know if you ever want to bet against arrested Joe Gomez. Is kind of what I've heard. So
Adam is the biggest non-Liverpool supporting Joe Gomez fan I've ever met. He loves Joe Gomez.
yeah, he's good. He's filling in. And they haven't lost, so props to Joe.
17 games.
Well, not all 17, but
Yeah.
the second biggest game of the weekend is what we're talking next. And I figured out today what was going on with the schedule. So we have, is it 8 games on Saturday, man? Maybe all the games are in Saturday, but we have the NFL game that's going on Sunday,
Yeah.
and that is why there's only one Premier League match on Sunday, which I think this is a new schedule change because I don't remember it being like this drastic to where there's one Premier League game because NFL is going on. So they must be kind of going, I don't know, NFL maybe paid the Premier League to, not have a game during that time. So so they can gain fans, something like that. But we have Nottingham, of course, is
A
one the
great
lone.
go-to-market strategy right there from the NFL.
Yeah, of course, the lone game here is Nottingham Forest home against Brentford, and this is something. This is a match here. We got Nottingham Forest at plus 180 to win. Brentford are plus 160. Draw is plus 220. Over 2.5 goals, plus 105. Under 2.5 goals, minus 135. And right now, I think maybe the only thing more down bad than our records is Brentford right now. Brentford they're figuring things out, and they're in a much worse spot than last season. And I'm not sure when they're going to be able to figure it out. Maybe it's in this game, but so in addition to Ivan Toney being down, Ben B's out to the international break. Rico Henry's out for the rest of the season. So that's basically 3 starters that they're not going to have in this match. Of course, Tony's out until January, but Kevin Schad also, he's going to be out. Damsgaard is out as well. So they got all these injuries. They just played against Arsenal today. They lost 1-0. They didn't even rotate that much as it is. So that's another piece of the puzzle there for them. We'll see how they line up. Thomas Frank is the master motivator, but at some point, having a worse goalkeeper than last season and being down 3 starters is going to hurt, especially a team like Brentford. But at the end of the day, they're playing Nottingham Forest, and anything can happen. So, Chris, do you think Nottingham Forest can win, or is this a bounce back spot for Brighton? I will say Thomas Frank said this week, he was just talking up. He's like, Brentford.
For Brentford.
Brentford. He was talking up. He's like, we're a great bounce back team. I believe in us against Arsenal. Didn't happen, but the fact that he's talking about Brentford as being a great bounce back team, maybe this is the bounce back here against Nottingham Forest. You think this is the bounce back spot for him? Maybe bounce back for Brentford and for Kits and Wagers all in one weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be. Full transparency here. Adam slacked me that we're going to touch on this game, and I just kind of like threw up in my mouth a slight bit, and I'm still kind of dealing with that. But yeah, this is a tough matchup. Only if they didn't want if they wanted all eyes to go to the NFL or the NFL game, well, they're going to succeed with this one because I don't think anyone's watching. And who knows if they're getting it, but I don't think anyone's why. Might tune in a little bit, but we'll see. But anyways, yeah, two teams who need to win. Brentford went out of the League Cup today. They lost Arsenal 1-0, 3-1 against Everton last week, and then the week before that, it was 1-0 against Brentford. They have not won a game since their first game, or they drew a game against Bournemouth. That was back in September. Otherwise, they've been struggling. But yeah, you mentioned
September.
back in September. Yeah,
this game is in October.
You tell how much I hate this game. But yeah, this game is.
This is a Wednesday night show for everyone.
Yeah, I'm on like hour 10 of looking at screens here, but
I'll say this is not even beers and wagers. This is tea and wagers for Chris.
Yeah, I got a nice chameleon tea going on right now. Chamomile or however the hell you say it.
Chamomile.
Chamomile. There we go. Anyways, chamomile. You can tell I don't drink a ton of tea. Anyways, we're off the rails right here, but I'm gonna just get into my bet before I break down what's gonna go on here. Missing Rico Henry, obviously missing some other players. I like a nice safe 2 to 3 goal bands bet here. That's 2 to 3 total goals. It's plus 100. I think Brentford's, as we mentioned, going to be missing two starters at least in the back line. That should be enough for Nottingham Forest to start to maybe like rev up the attacking engine. Meanwhile, Bryan Mbeumo has been pretty good, I think, this season. He should be back in the lineup as well. I think between him and a couple of their other attackers, they should be able to find the back of the net. Maybe a goal each, 1-1 draw. We get out of there. We call it a day, and we get over to Adam's corners bet.
Yeah, I almost think the more I look at this, that maybe Brentford kind of threw us off the scent early in the season. They had the 2-2 match against Tottenham, and that was okay. Okay, it was a home opener. We'll give it to them. But really, I think, looking back at that match, I think Tottenham maybe were unlucky to get 3 points there. I think they kind of dominated the second half, probably should have gotten another goal. Then the Brentford had the away win at Fulham, and that was just a weird game. It was 3-0. Fulham were still dealing with all the rumors of Mitrovic and Willian going to Saudi Arabia kind of thing. Just a weird early season match. And then we have these other home matches. Okay, a 1-1 against Crystal Palace, 2-2 against Bournemouth. Home spots where they, probably should get a win there, maybe get better results. And then, okay, loss against Newcastle. And then last weekend, I don't know if I want to say one of the worst games I've seen from this Brentford team over the last couple of years, but they did not look good against Everton. They just cannot get anything going. This was the first match without Rico Henry. Ben Mee's been out for a couple of games already. So I don't know. It just doesn't feel really great for him right now. And then I don't know if I don't think they have the answer to replace Tony. They haven't found the answer yet to replace Tony up front. I know Bryan Mbeumo's had a great start to the season, but he's not the same kind of player. And I think they're really lacking in a lot of areas. And getting to my bet here, I'm going back to my roots here. Nottingham Forest minus 0.25 corners in the first half. That's minus 115. So again, if it's even on corners, you get half your money back. But if Nottingham Forest have more corners than Brentford, then you win this bet. So I just think that this is a great spot for Nottingham Forest to get 3 points. One way this isn't going to happen is it's okay. It's a bounce back spot for Brentford. They're kind of attacking early from the start, and they're just getting a bunch of corners, kind of a thing. But I don't know if they're built for that right now. I actually wonder on my lineup show I did. I wondered. Usually Brentford play with 5 defenders. They play in that 5-3-2 formation against better teams. I wonder if they actually do that in this spot and going forward, even against Nottingham Forest, just because they have the Kevin Schott injury and they have Rico Henry out. So I wonder if they just kind of go with that 5-3-2, maybe play some of these games a little safer. I may even look at the under 2.5 as I'm looking at Chris's 2 to 3 goal score bet, but I may look at the under 2.5 as well. If they go that 5-3-2, that's kind of the route I'm going. But what do you think for the score result here? Nottingham Forest 2-1 or 1-1 kind of thing?
1-1.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna give me that exact goal bet. 1-1.
Yeah, that one.
For no particular reason other than that this game will be terrible.
It makes the most sense. We still aren't sure on what Nottingham Forest are going to do. I have my projected lineup here. It kind of has Hudson-Odoi and Elanga starting. That's kind of what they did against Burnley. I think that this is a spot where they can do that again. But Nottingham Forest are always in play to allow a goal, so 1-1 kind of makes sense there.
I mean, they have looking at this lineup, they have a better attack than Brentford does, like from a player perspective. I could be open for interpretation, but I do think that they have a better front.
No, I
Front
think
four.
I think it's 100%. You can pretty much compare Brian Mbuemo to Morgan Gibbs White, and then Iwani is just a better striker than anything they have, and then
Yep.
Hudson-Odoi and Alanga combo is probably better than Yohan Visa and Lewis Potter there. So yeah, I mean at the end, if you just look comparing these players here, I'm not sure Brentford's roster is actually that much better. Though I guess you could say, okay, Janelle, Jensen, and Norgard is the better midfield. I think that's what separates them a little bit. But
I mean, the thing about Brentford is they've been getting past teams with a lesser lineup for the better part of like 4 seasons.
Yeah,
it's the project.
We'll just see. We'll see how much this Rico Henry injury is going to affect him throughout the season. Because Mads Ruslev game 1 against Everton just didn't go that well. Just did not go that well. Let's get into our team parlay here. Our team parlay is up. Was it $2,000? We're 6-0, something like that. I'll pull up the cheat sheet here. Actually, what game are you talking about here?
I'm talking about Aston Villa, Brighton on first game of the weekend. We got a tasty matchup between these two teams.
I'll pull up the odds here for that one for all the for the community here. So Aston Villa home against Brighton, pretty fun game. This is, I mean, you could argue this is maybe the most fun game outside of Liverpool Tottenham. So even odds plus 155 for Aston Villa, plus 160 for Brighton. What do you got in this one?
I am on Aston Villa's playing at home. Aston Villa, playing okay. I think that they'll be able to come away with at least a draw or at least a point. I don't think that they'll lose to Brighton. And
are you worried they just lost to Everton today?
Yeah, I am slightly. I just looked at that result, but yeah, a bit. Wait, that was today, or was it yesterday? That was today. 2-1. Yeah, good call. I don't know. I think at home they're playing well enough. Unai Emery, from a this will be a fun tactical battle between the two teams. Two teams who kind of went above and beyond our expectations that we had for them last season. Again, we kind of expect them to be in the fight for those European spots at the end of the season again. But I like Aston Villa or double chance here. And I think did I go over 2.5?
You got over 1.5.
Over 1.5. Wow, really gave it to me there. It's minus 145 odds, and so I'm doing a same game parlay here with the parlay. So it's we're getting kind of crazy here. But looking back, and at least from a goals perspective, like an over 1.5, this shouldn't be the issue. The issue will be whether or not Aston Villa can take a point away here. But looking back, Villa won last May 2-1. They drew to Tottenham 2-2 in, I think that would have been the League Cup before it was a replay. I'm not sure. Or penalties. Did that? Maybe it was a friendly. Anyways, and then
I think Aston they played in the United States in one of those friendlies.
Oh.
Wait, no. Actually, that was a World Cup friendly. Sorry. Yeah, World Cup friendly.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. They actually won both of these matchups last year, 2-1 on both home and away. Season before they also played, and Villa won those ones 2-0. So they're riding in the league a 4-game winning streak against Brighton. So helps that they're playing at home, I think, and I think that they can pull points here. And the over 1.5 should not be a problem. If it's a 1-0 game, I would be pretty surprised.
Yeah, this bet, we put this together at DraftKings in case anyone was wondering. Chris he has the single game parlay, Aston Villa double chance with over 1.5 goals. I'm on this one. And for my article, check that out, rotowire.com/soccer when it's out. Probably be out Friday morning, but I'm going to be on a side in this bet. And let's just say it's going to be Aston Villa. But of any manager, I think there's a couple managers I think that can outmanage Roberto De Zerbi. De Zerbi has, the certain way to play of how Brighton are winning a lot of these games. David Moyes took it to him, a few weeks ago. Unai Emery did it a couple times last season already. And I think Unai Emery can do it again. So I'm kind of on this one. So with the Aston Villa double chance. again, back to my roots here. Just just the bread and butters. Everton, Luton Town over 4.5 corners in the first half. That's plus 100. Surprising plus 100, and mainly surprising because just neither one of these teams have been consistent at getting corners or allowing corners. But Everton are, I don't know if I want to say they've rebounded a little bit. They had the big win against Brentford, then they just won at Aston Villa. So they're at least playing with confidence. And then as for Luton Town, they're in an interesting spot here. So we actually bet on them last week. Unfortunately, they could not win one of their halves, which was still frustrating to me. But so they lost on Tuesday at Exeter City. All their fans are pissed because they lost 1-0 in a very winnable matchup. And I wonder if they kind of if both these teams try and go forward early. And I think if we get an up and down game, I think we're going to get over 4.5 corners. That's just kind of what I'm thinking here. So we got Everton with their confidence, and what Deitch likes to do early in games is kind of push it a little bit. That in addition to just some kind of bounce back from Luton Town from just a, I don't know, pretty bad loss on Tuesday for them for their fans and probably for them personally. So I'll just go over 4.5 corners there. I think that's an interesting game. I might have another bet on that in my article. But what do you think about the Everton Luton Town game? What do you think about Everton here in general? Just finally getting some wins, I guess.
Yeah, great result for them. Definitely last weekend. It was kind of like, I hate to say this, but is it a matter of time before Sean Dyche gets them to start to play? How he would formally get Burnley to play, a little bit more quality in the team. I think now at Everton than in his previous teams, but yeah, I mean they're kind of turning it around, and this is like another good one to a get right match here for them against Luton Town. So I definitely think that they should pull all 3 points here.
Yeah. They're like, I want to say minus 165. So I
Yeah.
did not say the parlay is plus 237. Those are the odds. So my Everton Luton Town over 4.5 corners in the first half is plus 100. Chris's single game parlay, Aston Villa double chance with over 1.5 goals at minus 145. Put those together, it's plus 237 odds. I got the cheat sheet up if you're watching on YouTube. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here for you. Team conceded stats, corners allowed. There you go. West Ham. Speaking of West Ham, speaking of corners here, West Ham have allowed the most corners in the league. Speaking of Sheffield United, they've allowed the second most corners in the league. So there are the numbers on those teams. But Chris, we got a comment here. Got to read this before we go. Our guy Stephen P. Matheus Nunes, first goal scorer in that Manchester City match in a revenge game. A little bit of a revenge game there for Nunes. Plus 1,400 in that one. What do you think?
Nunez first score plus 1,400. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a deep bet right there. I will say that. A couple bucks on it goes a long way. That's for sure.
Yeah, Nunez was the was he kind of?
I don't think he started today either. I think they brought in Calvin Phillips. I didn't see if
Philip. He came on. He came off the bench. Wasn't Nunez? He was like banned from training. Is that what happened?
No. What do you mean?
When he was at Wolverhampton.
Oh,
This
yeah.
match.
I think to start the season, maybe they were
yeah,
a
like
bad attitude because he was about to get a big move or something like that.
Right, the week of like he was the week of the transfer deadline. Like he wasn't training with Wolverhampton or something. And then they kind of kicked him out of training or something. I could be getting that mixed up with someone else.
I feel like that's just like a preservation thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, he came on in the 68th minute for Ake in this game. That Man City lost. They're out of the cup. That's too bad.
Oh, is it? Is it too bad? Yeah, actually, speaking of, that's why I'm wearing my Alexander Isak kit. I got the Isak kit on. Real Sociedad also beat Valencia today. So shouts to San Sebastian. Shouts to Pinchos, great city of San Sebastian, Real Sociedad. Chris, you got anything else for the slate? We're in here. It's
It's about
late.
my dinner time.
You need dinner. Yeah. Chris needs dinner.
Yeah.
We're getting out of here. Thank you everyone for watching. You can find Chris on Twitter at CHRON8. I am at Zdroik. Thank you everyone for watching. As usual, like and subscribe. Let's win some bets this weekend. If you're winning bets, I will say, send us a tweet or something if you get some winning bets. If they're losing, we don't want to hear about it. We know we feel bad about it. But if we're winning bets, if we're winning you money, at the end of the day, maybe you want to fade us. Maybe you want to fade us, and maybe you can win money like that. But I don't suggest it. I don't suggest it at all. Ozzy is saying Newcastle gonna smash. They're home against Burnley. They're the biggest favorite on the Premier League slate this weekend. So wouldn't be surprising if that happens either. Newcastle has a pretty interesting, I think they play PSG, I want to say, next week in Champions League. So a pretty interesting few days here for Newcastle coming up. But Chris, thanks for the show. Enjoy your dinner. We'll see everyone next week.
Thanks, Adam.